Hey, Monster Maniacs. Welcome back. I continue my coverage of Skywald monster magazines. And technically, this one is not a monster magazine so much as just an action magazine. This Hell Rider character is a vigilante, and he gets his powers from a serum, which was given to him early on by the military. And he's a Vietnam veteran, and he rides this hog with a flamethrower mounted on it. And it's pretty violent. It's nothing really extreme, but it's pretty violent, and it's basically the genre for this would be more like action slash low-powered superhero rather than horror. But I'm going to include this in here because it's significant in that these Hell Rider stories in these two issues are written by Gary Friedrich. And he went on just a few months later to co-create the Ghost Rider for Marvel. So this is kind of like a pre-Ghost Rider, even though while there are several similarities, it is quite dissimilar in certain ways as well. But he got with Mike Plug a few months later, and for Marvel Spotlight #5, they co-created Marvel's Ghost Rider, who went on to fame. So anyway, we'll go to the particulars on this. Hell Rider ran 2 issues in 1971, and this cover is by Harry Rosenbaum, and the art is by Ross Andru, John Celardo, Dick Ayers, and Mike Esposito. It's written by Gary Friedrich. And strangely, those two girls back there in the background kind of look like the characters in the Saga of the Victims storyline. Also, there are a couple of backups in these 2 issues. The Wild Bunch, which is kind of a do-gooder cycle gang, and the Butterfly, who is actually the first female black superhero in comics. And there is Hell Rider #2. That cover is again by Harry Rosenbaum. Art by Ross Andru, Mike Esposito, Rich Buckler, Sid Shores, Bill Everett. And it's written by Gary Friedrich. And I believe in #2 the stories kind of stand alone, but in #1 they cross over a little bit. But anyway, it's noteworthy for the fact that it's kind of a Ghost Rider pseudo prototype. Not exact by any means, but pseudo, because they were both written by Gary Friedrich and created or co-created in the case of Ghost Rider. And these 2 issues are kind of pricey in high grade. These copies here are, probably in the very fine range, according to Overstreet, maybe a little bit better on the #1. But the #1 especially has gotten a little bit pricey. You can drop some money on that thing in high grade. Even mid-grade copies have gotten expensive. Now we get to the horror. This is first issue of Scream. This ran 11 issues from 1973 to 1975. This cover is by Vicente Sagreus, and that is pretty nice. Always like that cover. Interior art, Cesar Lopez, Jose Gual, Jose Rubio, Farron Sostris, Melo Centron, Felipe de la Rosa. And they used a lot of Spanish artists in these books, but it worked. I mean, they did an awesome job with these things. And here is #2. This cover is by Jose Morales, art by Ricardo Villamonte, Felipe de la Rosa, Jesus Susorego, Mauro Nava, Domingo Lopez, Emilio Bernardo, Farron Sostris, Cesar Lopez. Okay, this features the first appearance of Lady Satan, who would go on to be a noteworthy character for Skywald. She would appear in, appear later on. And I remember I bought this copy actually for $1. Now it's in low grade. It's probably technically in like maybe good to very good, but and it's got a sweet date stamp there anyway. Looks like August 6, 1973. But this, I remember I was on vacation in Florida, and I was staying at a motel on Highway 19, uh, just north of Clearwater and St. Petersburg. And I was always looking for comics and monster stuff, no matter where I went. And across the road, about a mile down, I spotted a weird business called Wonder Water. And it was a store that actually it was two stores in one building. On one side, they sold water, like bottled water. And on the other side, they had a comic book store. And I went in there and looked around, of course, and I saw a whole stack of monster magazines. And this was back around maybe 2001, 2002, right around in there. And I noticed they were mostly low grade, but hey, I love monster magazines. I'm going to grab them regardless. And I said, how much are these magazines? And the guy at the counter, he said, if you take them all, you can have them for $1 a piece. And I couldn't grab that stack quick enough. And this Scream #2 was one of the ones. I read a bunch of them later that night in the motel room. But anyway, getting back, this cover, well, I've already gone over the credits for that one, so we will move along. Here is #3. It's got a 20 pence sticker there, so evidently that one was sold in the UK. But this cover is by Villanova, and interior art, Jesus Duran, Ricardo Vilmonte, Mauro Nava, Ruben Sosa, and Cesar Lopez. And we can certainly tell who that is. Anybody that knows anything about horror knows that's Christopher Lee as Dracula. And it's kind of a montage cover there. It's got a neat werewolf and some other stuff, and just a cool cover. And we move along. #4. Cover by Villanova. Art by Ricardo Vilmonte. And Mauro Nava, Jose Gual, Farron Sostras, Cesar Lopez, Domingo Lopez. Oh no, this is a great cover here. Love this, man. Just so cool. This #5 cover is by Fernando Fernandez. Interior art, Ricardo Vilmonte, Alfonso Font, Mauro Nava, Jose Cardona, Domingo Gomez, Emilio Bernardo, and Cesar Lopez. That is just striking. Absolutely striking. I'm not certain exactly what he used as a model for that, but boy, so sweet. And here's another one that's obvious what it's modeled on. This is #6. This is by Salvador Faba. Interior art, Ricardo Vilmonte, Alfonso Font, Cesar Lopez, Jesus Suso Rego. And this features the first Saga of the Victims. And I'll be going over a book that reprints the entire Saga of the Victims at the end of this video. So stick with. Now, as far as what that's based on, it's obviously a still of Peter Cushing as Baron Frankenstein from Frankenstein Created Woman. And it's really nice. I mean, he changed some stuff around. He scarred up the face, and he's got the weird eye there. And It's great Gothic horror, you know, just fabulous. And we go to number 7. This cover is by Brea, B-R-E-A, and it's signed there, Brea. And art by Farron Sostris, Jose Cardona, Jose Martinsori, Cesar Lopez, Ricardo Villamante, Jesus Suso Rego. And I believe for the Saga of the Victims stories, it was Suso that did those all the time. Great cover. Here's another good one. Number 8. This cover is by Faba. Ricardo Villamante on the inside, Cesar Lopez, Jose Cardona, Jesus Suso Rego, Rich Buckler, and Chick Stone. And number 9, another great cover by Salvador Faba. Art by Paul Puigagut. Boy, I hope I'm saying that right. I mean, I don't want to butcher the guy's name, but I'm just not certain on pronunciation with some of these. Luis Collado, Cesar Lopez, Pablo Marcos, Francisco Agras, Antonio Burrell, and Jesus Suso Rego. Got a sweet date stamp on that one too. August 26th, 1974. Pretty wild mummy cover there by Faba. And number 10. Now, this is a fantastic cover by Sebastian Bowada. He did some of the best covers in Monster Magazine history on the, end of the runs on these Skywald titles. That is just really cool, and that's been reused several times. And I've seen that illo used in ads and different blurbs and things that showed up on the internet, and it's just a really nice cover. Interior art, Jose Martinsori, Jose Cardona, Cesar Lopez, Candido Ruiz Puezo, and Jesus Duran. Can't say enough about how great Bowada was. I think he did like over 1,000 paperback covers in the 50s and 60s. And here we have number 11. This is the last issue. This is also the 1975 Scream Winter Special. And this cover is by Ballastar. Ballestar, Ballastar. This interior art by Cesar Lopez, Jose Maria Cardona as Andy Crando, Luis Collado, Gene Day, Peter Copiello as Dennis Ford, and Jesus Suso Rego. And it looks like they've got some features there on The Exorcist. You can't judge a killer by the corpse, plus all original tales of horror, terror, and evil. All original 1975 Winter Yearbook. Last issue, sadly. And here's an oddity. This is an Australian company that published this, called Page Publishers. This is actually the cover of number 3 of Scream. And I'm not sure what's reprinted on the inside, and I'm not sure exactly when this came out. I would guess late 70s, maybe into the 80s. I don't know. That price is still pretty low, so it couldn't be, too late. And there's no indicia on this magazine. Usually any kind of publication has an indicia somewhere in it, but I couldn't find one in this. I just thought it was an interesting oddity that I'd include in this video. Australian Scream number 6 by Page Publications. Okay, I've got a couple of books here that have to do with Skywald. And the first one is called The Complete Saga of the Victims. Now, the Saga of the Victims was an ongoing series in Scream and Nightmare, I believe. And it featured a couple of female characters that constantly got in ridiculous situations, and it was just every episode of it was just them trying to survive some awful catastrophic situation, which they did. But anyway, it was entertaining. And this book was published by Head Press. I believe they are based in the UK. But I think it was published, actually, it saw print in 2006, but they got it together in 2003. I mean, it's got a copyright date there of 2003, and it's got a dedication there. This book is dedicated to the memory of the late archaic Al Hewitson, who was the main man behind the Skywald Horror Mood. And he didn't die until 2004, after he had finished the illustrated history of, that book right there, Complete Illustrated History of the Skywald Horror Mood. So I think this was actually available in 2006, but it took a while to get to that point. Anyway, this reprints every episode of the Saga of the Victims from the different, the different Skywald stories, and the last episode of it never saw print in the magazines because Skywald folded too soon. And you can't get that except in this book. They not only have all of the original stories from the magazines reprinted, but they also print the final story, the end of it all, for the first time ever. And this is a cool book. It may seem a little politically incorrect these days for such a thing, but it's just over the top for fun. I mean, it's not there's nothing too heavy in here. It's just cool art and a look into the past when people weren't really overly sensitive about silly stories. So anyway, I can recommend this. This is entertaining. And it's out of print, and it's kind of pricey, but if you shop around, I think you can probably score a copy for less than $100 if you're interested in getting one. And any Skywald completist really needs that book. Okay, we move on to Skywald, The Complete Illustrated History of the Skywald Horror Mood by Alan Hewitson. Now, this was finished by Alan Hewitson shortly before his death. He died of a heart attack in, I believe, 2004, and he just got this thing finished not long before that. And the cover is by Pablo Marcos, and it's a new cover, and it actually features the creature from from Nightmare number 8, I believe. That cover is quite different, but it features this same creature in it, and this goes into detail. And Alan Hewitson tells us about the history of Skywald and how it all came about, and it's got all the covers there, on the inside of the front cover and the back cover, and indexes, and it reprints a lot of the classic horror mood stories from different Skywald titles. And he goes into the whole Skywald story. I mean, it's fascinating if you love Skywald. And he talks about the people that worked for him, and there's Wortham, of course, going way back to the witch hunts. And it's just a great book. If you can find a copy and afford it, you need to get it. Every Skywald fan needs a copy of that book. It's by Head Press as well, and you know, it's been out of print for years, and I mean, I know it's expensive. I don't know just how expensive. Probably you can get a copy for a couple of $100 if you're patient and you have like safe searches on eBay. Before I did this video, I checked for the heck of it. Amazon, somebody's got one on there for a crazy Amazon price, you know, like 400 and something dollars. It's just ridiculous. But if you're patient and you look around, and you can get one cheaper than that, probably for a couple of $100. I'm just glad I bought these things back when, you know, they were reasonable, before all the crazy stratospheric aftermarket prices took over. But anyway, there you go. That's my look finally at all of the Skywald titles. I do not have Crime Machine. I've got some of the comics, but that's for a different video. And the only one that really ties into these is the Heap One Shot by Tom Sutton, which is really cool. But as far as the monster magazines and the related things go, this finishes. This is the third video in the series, and I hope you guys enjoyed these videos. I hope it helps you in trying to finish your collections of Skywald material. And I will see you later for more monstering. And probably next, we've got a couple of dinosaur play sets on the horizon. So take it easy.